The howl came again, long and deep, shaking the metal walls of the research station. Dr. Kim Tae pressed his back against the cold wall and checked his watch. 3 days. 3 days since the creature had first appeared on the horizon of the ice planet Kithara. How much power do we have left? Tae asked, his breath forming small clouds in the freezing air. Lee Dong looked up from his tablet, his face pale in the emergency lighting. Maybe 6 hours, the backup generators are running low. Dr. Park Hana sat across from them, wrapping her arms around her knees. 6 hours until what? Until we freeze to death, or until that thing breaks through the last barrier? The research station had been their home for 8 months. They came to Kithara to study the unique ice formations that covered the planet. The work was simple and peaceful. They took samples, ran tests, and sent reports back to Earth. Nothing prepared them for what was hunting them now. The creature first appeared 3 days ago during the morning shift. Dong saw it first through the observation window. A massive shape moving across the ice fields, bigger than any animal they had ever seen. It stood 3 meters tall, with fur that looked like living crystal. The sunlight made it shine like a diamond. "It's beautiful," Hana had whispered when she first saw it. That was before the killing started. The creature moved with purpose toward their station. It ignored the smaller buildings and went straight for the main research lab. With one swipe of its claws, it tore through the reinforced door like paper. The sound of metal being ripped apart echoed across the frozen wasteland. "Emergency protocols," Tae had shouted into his radio. "All personnel to the safe zone, now." They had 6 other researchers with them. 2 were from Earth, like Tai, Hana, and Dong. The others were aliens from different worlds. Veltar was an insect-like being from the desert planet Zerion. Her people were known for their logical thinking and careful planning. Nephrim came from the water world Aquatica. His blue skin and webbed fingers made him look strange on the ice planet, but his people were excellent at reading danger. Our third alien was Korth, a rock-like being from the mountain world Petra. His people lived for thousands of years and had seen many dangerous creatures. When Korth saw the ice wolf, his usual calm broke. "We need to leave this planet," Korth said, his voice shaking. "That creature is death itself." "What do you know about it?" Tae asked. Korth's stone face grew darker. "The ice wolves of Kithara are legend among space travelers. They say one wolf destroyed an entire mining colony 50 years ago. 200 people died in one night. The creature they were hiding from was called the ice wolf, but it was unlike any wolf from Earth. Its body was covered in fur that looked like sharp crystals. Its eyes glowed blue like frozen stars. When it breathed, the air around it turned to ice instantly. But the most terrifying thing about the ice wolf was its howl. The sound was not just loud. It was something that reached into your chest and squeezed your heart. It made the strongest people want to run and hide. Some said the howl could drive people mad if they heard it too long. "There," Veltar pointed with one of her thin arms. "It's moving again." Through the small window they could see the creature circling their building. It moved slowly, like it was thinking about something. Every few minutes it would stop and let out another howl that shook the walls. "Why doesn't it just break in?" Hana asked. "It's strong enough. Maybe it's playing with us," Nephrim said. His voice was wet and bubbling the way his people spoke. "Some predators like to frighten their prey before they kill." Tae watched the creature through the window. Something felt wrong about that. Explanation. The ice wolf was clearly intelligent. Its movements were too planned, too careful, but it didn't seem to be hunting them like a normal predator would. "Look at what it's doing," Tae said. "It's not trying to get to us, it's destroying our equipment." The others looked where he was pointing. The creature was methodically destroying every piece of research equipment outside their shelter. It had already smashed their main scanner, their sample collection tools, and their communication array. But it hadn't touched the food storage or the water recycling unit. "Maybe it doesn't want to eat us," Dong said quietly. "Maybe it wants something else." "What could it possibly want?" Veltar asked. Her people were logical, but they struggled to understand emotional behavior. Another howl filled the air, longer and more desperate than before. This time Tay heard something different in the sound. It wasn't just anger or hunger. There was something else, something that reminded him of the sounds herd animals made back on Earth. "We need to contact the rescue ship," Nephilim said. "Tell them to bring weapons." "The communication array is destroyed," Dong reminded them. "We can't contact anyone. Then we wait," Korth said. "Help will come eventually." "Will it?" Hana asked. "We're supposed to check in every week. Our next check-in isn't for 4 days. Even if they notice we're missing, it will take them time to organize a rescue mission." The reality of their situation settled over them like the cold. They were alone, on an ice planet with a creature that legends said was unstoppable. Their shelter was strong, but not strong enough to hold forever. Their power was running low. Their food would last maybe a week. "We need to think about this differently," Tay said. "This creature isn't just randomly destroying things. It's targeting our research equipment specifically." "So what?" Veltar asked. "So maybe it has a reason." The ice wolf howled again, and this time it sounded almost sad. Tay found himself thinking about his childhood on Earth, about the injured animals his family would sometimes find near their farm. His grandmother always said that angry animals were usually just scared or hurt animals. "You're not thinking of trying to communicate with that thing," Hana said, reading his expression. "Maybe," Tay said. "That's insane," Nephilim bubbled. "That creature is a killer. It will tear you apart." "Maybe," Tay said again. "But maybe it's trying to tell us something." The howl came once more, echoing across the frozen landscape. This time, Tay was sure he heard pain in the sound. The ice wolf wasn't just a monster. It was a creature in distress, and if there was one thing humans were good at, it was helping creatures in distress, even when those creatures looked like they could kill you with one swipe of their claws. Tay spent the next 6 hours listening. While the others tried to sleep or worried about their dwindling power supply, he sat by the small window and paid attention to every sound the ice wolf made. Each howl was different. Some were short and sharp. Others were long and mournful. A few seemed to have a pattern, almost like music. "You're wasting your time," Veltar said. Her insect eyes never blinked, making her stare uncomfortable. "Animals don't have language. They only have instincts." "Maybe," Tay said, making notes on his tablet. "But what if we're wrong about what kind of animal this is?" Hana moved closer to look at his notes. "What are you thinking?" "Listen to this." Tay played back a recording he had made. The ice wolf's howl filled their small shelter. "Do you hear that? There's a rhythm to it. 3 short sounds, then 2 long ones, then 3 short again." "So what?" Dong asked, though he was starting to look interested. "So that's not random. That's a pattern. And patterns suggest intelligence." Nephilim made a bubbling sound that was probably laughter. "Even if it's intelligent, that doesn't make it friendly. Smart predators are more dangerous, not less." Through the window they could see the ice wolf moving around their destroyed equipment. It would sniff at something, then move to the next piece of broken machinery. It seemed to be looking for something specific. "There," Tay pointed. "Look at how it's searching. It's not eating the metal or playing with the pieces, it's investigating." "Investigating what?" Hana asked. "I don't know yet." The creature stopped at the remains of their main scanning device. This was the machine they used to study the ice formations deep underground. The ice wolf sniffed at it for a long time, then let out a howl that was different from all the others. This one sounded almost like crying. "Did you hear that?" Tay asked. "Hear what?" Korth rumbled. The stone being had been quiet for hours. That wasn't an angry sound. That was a sad sound. "You're putting human emotions onto an alien creature," Veltar said. "This is not scientific thinking." "Maybe not," Tay admitted. "But what if I'm right?" He turned back to his tablet and started looking through their research data. For 8 months, they had been using powerful scanners to study the planet. The GU scanners sent energy waves deep into the ice to map what was underneath. The readings showed a complex network of caves and tunnels under the surface. "Look at this," Tay said, showing them the scanner data. "These caves go everywhere under the ice. Some of them are huge, big enough for large creatures to live in. You think the ice wolf lives down there? Hana asked. I think maybe a lot of ice wolves live down there. Dong looked up from his power readings. That would explain why we never see them. They stay underground most of the time. But why come up now? Nephilim asked. Why attack our station? Tay had been thinking about that question for hours. He looked at their scanner data again, paying attention to the energy levels they had been using. The scanners were very powerful. They could see through hundreds of meters of ice. What if our scanners were doing more than just looking? He said slowly. What do you mean? Hana asked. What if the energy waves we were sending into the ice were hurting something down there? The group fell silent. Outside, the ice wolf howled again, and this time Tay was certain he heard pain in the sound. That's just a theory, Veltar said. You have no proof. Then let's look for proof. Tay started going through their research files more carefully. He looked at the dates when they had used the scanners and compared them to their daily reports. A pattern started to emerge. Here, he said, pointing to his screen. 3 weeks ago, we did a deep scan of the northern ice fields. The next day, our seismic sensors picked up unusual activity underground. We thought it was just ice shifting. Maybe it was ice shifting, Korth said. Or maybe it was something else moving around down there. Something disturbed by our scanning. Tay found more examples. Every time they did a particularly deep or powerful scan, their sensors would detect movement underground in the following days. They had assumed it was natural ice activity, but what if it wasn't? You're saying we accidentally hurt this creature's family? Hana asked. I'm saying it's possible. The ice wolf appeared at their window again. Up close, they could see details they had missed before. Its crystalline fur wasn't just beautiful. Some of it was broken or scarred. There were marks on its body that looked like old injuries. Look at those scars, Dong whispered. Something hurt this creature before, or someone, Tay said quietly. Korth shifted his heavy stone body. There were mining operations on this planet before. 50 years ago, maybe longer. They abandoned the sites when the wolves started attacking. What if the miners were using the same kind of scanning equipment we are? Tay asked. What if they were hurting the wolves' families too? And the wolves fought back, Hana said, understanding. Until the miners left or died, Dong added. Now we show up with the same kind of equipment, Tay continued. How do you think? That looks to a creature who remembers the last time this happened? The ice wolf moved away from the window, but it didn't go far. It seemed to be waiting for something. So what do we do? Nephilim asked. We can't turn off equipment we've already destroyed. We can try to communicate, Tay said. We can try to show it that we're not the same as whoever heard it before. That's extremely dangerous, Veltar said. If you're wrong about its intelligence, you'll be killed immediately. If I'm right about its intelligence, maybe we can find a way to coexist. And if you're wrong about its intentions? Korth asked. Tay looked out at the ice wolf. The creature was sitting now, watching their shelter. Its blue eyes seemed to glow with their own light. Then at least we'll know we tried. The power indicator on Dong's tablet blinked red. They had maybe 2 hours of heat and light left. After that, the cold would kill them just as surely as the ice wolf's claws. I'm going out there, Tay said. That's suicide, Nephilim bubbled. Maybe, but staying here is definitely death. At least this way we have a chance. Tay started putting on his environmental suit. The others watched him with a mixture of admiration and horror. If this works, Hana said, you'll be famous throughout the galaxy. If it doesn't work, Dong added, you'll be dead. Either way, Tay said, checking his suit's seals. At least we'll have an answer. The ice wolf howled again, and this time Tay thought he heard something new in the sound. Hope. The cold hit Tay like a physical blow the moment he stepped outside. Even with his environmental suit, the temperature on Cathara could kill a human in minutes. The wind carried tiny ice crystals that sparkled in the aurora light dancing across the sky. Tay, please reconsider. Hana's voice crackled through his helmet radio. Come back inside. I'm okay, he said, though his hands were already starting to shake. The suit is holding. The ice wolf was 50 meters away, standing among the wreckage of their research equipment. When it saw him, it raised its massive head and let out a low rumbling sound. Not quite a growl, not quite a howl. Something in between. Tay took a step forward, then another. His boots crunched on the frozen ground. Each step sounded impossibly loud in the thin air. "Easy," he said out loud, knowing the creature couldn't understand his words but hoping it might understand his tone. "I'm not here to hurt you." The ice wolf watched him approach. Its crystalline fur caught the aurora light and scattered it in rainbow patterns across the ice. Up close, Tay could see that the creature was even larger than he had thought. Its shoulders were broader than a small building. Its claws were longer than his arm. "Tay, it's moving," Dong's voice warned through the radio. The ice wolf took a step toward him, then stopped. Its blue eyes seemed to be studying him with an intelligence that made Tay's breath catch. Those weren't the eyes of a mindless beast. They were the eyes of a thinking being. "I know you can understand me somehow," Tay said, keeping his voice gentle. "I know you're angry. I know we hurt you or your family. We didn't mean to." The creature tilted its head, a gesture that was surprisingly familiar. Tay had seen dogs do the same thing when they were trying to understand something. "We're not like the others who came before," he continued. "We didn't know there was anyone living under the ice. We were just studying the planet. We made a mistake." The ice wolf made that rumbling sound again, but softer this time. It took another step closer, and Tay could feel the cold radiating from its body. The creature's breath created instant frost clouds in the air between them. "That's it," Tay said, encouragingly. "I'm not going to run, I'm not going to fight, I just want to understand." Through his helmet radio, he could hear his friends arguing about whether to come outside and help him, or prepare to run if the creature attacked. He ignored them and focused on the ice wolf. The creature was close enough now that Tay could see the details of its scars. They weren't random marks. They looked like they had been made by tools or weapons. Someone had definitely hurt this creature before, and recently. "They captured you, didn't they?" Tay said softly. "Someone caught you and did experiments on you. That's why you hate our equipment so much." The ice wolf's eyes seemed to flash with recognition. It made a sound that was almost like a whimper. "I'm sorry," Tay said, and he meant it. "I'm sorry they hurt you. I'm sorry we reminded you of that pain." He started to reach out toward the creature, then stopped. His environmental suit gloves were thick and clumsy. If he was going to make a real connection, he needed to be more vulnerable. "Tay, what are you doing?" Hana's voice was sharp with panic. "Something stupid," he admitted, and started removing his gloves. The cold bit into his bare hands immediately. He had maybe minutes before frostbite would set in, but he needed the ice wolf to see that he was willing to take risks for communication. "Look," he said, holding up his bare hands. "No weapons, no tools, just me." The ice wolf's eyes fixed on his exposed hands. The creature leaned closer, and Tay could feel its breath on his face. The cold was so intense it burned, but he didn't pull away. "I won't hurt you," he whispered. "I promise." The creature's massive head was now just inches from his own. This close, Tay could see that its crystalline fur wasn't really fur at all. It was some kind of natural armor, grown from the creature's own body. The ice wolf was like a living glacier, beautiful and deadly at the same time. "Tay, get away from it." Veltar's voice buzzed through his radio. Its body language suggests it's preparing to attack. But Tay didn't see aggression in the creature's posture. He saw something else. Something that reminded him of his grandmother's old dog when it was sick and needed comfort. "You're tired, aren't you?" he said gently. "You've been fighting for so long. First the miners, now us. You just want the pain to stop." The ice wolf made that whimpering sound again, and Tay saw something that made his heart ache. The creature's eyes were wet. It was crying. "It's okay," he said, slowly reaching out with one bare hand. "It's going to be okay." His fingers touched the creature's snout, and immediately ice began forming on his skin. The cold was so intense it felt like fire, but he didn't pull away. The ice wolf's eyes widened in surprise. "I know it hurts," Tay said, his voice getting quieter as the cold began to affect his ability to speak. "But you don't have to be alone anymore." The ice wolf was completely still now, as if it couldn't believe what was happening. No one had ever touched it with kindness before. Every contact with other beings had meant pain or fear. Ty's hand was going numb, but he could feel the creature's breathing slow down. The tension in its massive body was starting to relax. "That's better," he whispered. "See? I'm not going to hurt you." The ice wolf closed its eyes and leaned into his touch. For a moment, the most dangerous predator on Kythera looked like nothing more than a lonely animal that needed a friend. "Tay, your suit readings are critical," Dong's voice warned. "You need to get back inside now." But Tay wasn't ready to break the connection. This was the most important moment of his life, and possibly the most important moment in the history of human-alien relations. No one had ever made peaceful contact with an ice wolf before. "I have to go," he told the creature. "But I'll come back. I promise I'll come back." The ice wolf opened its eyes and looked at him with an expression that was clearly disappointment. "No," Tay said. "I don't want to leave either, but if I stay I'll die and then I can't help you anymore." He slowly pulled his hand back and started putting his gloves back on. His fingers were white with frostbite, but they still moved. He would live. The ice wolf watched him step backward toward the shelter. When he was 10 meters away, it let out a howl that was completely different from all the others. This one sounded like a goodbye. "I'll be back," he called out. "I promise." As he reached the shelter door, Tay turned for one last look. The ice wolf was still watching him, its crystalline form glowing in the aurora light. For the first time in 3 days, the creature looked peaceful. And for the first time since arriving on Kythera, Tay felt hope. Tay's teammates worked quickly to treat his frostbitten fingers while he told them what had happened outside. Hana wrapped his hands in warming bandages while Dong monitored his vital signs. Even Veltar seemed impressed by what he had accomplished. "The creature actually let you touch it?" she asked, her insect eyes reflecting the emergency lighting. "More than that," Tay said, flexing his fingers to make sure they still worked. "It wanted me to touch it. I think it's been alone for a very long time." "This changes everything," Nephrim bubbled. "If these creatures are intelligent and capable of peaceful contact, we need to report this to the Galactic Council immediately. First, we need to survive," Korth rumbled. "We still have less than an hour of power left." Through the window, they could see the ice wolf lying down near their shelter. It hadn't moved since Tay came back inside. Its glowing eyes were fixed on their building as if it was waiting for him to come out again. "It's not leaving," Hana observed. "Usually predators move on after they lose interest in prey." "Maybe because we're not prey anymore," Tay said. "Maybe we're something else now." "What? Do you think it wants?" Dong asked. Tay looked at his bandaged hands and thought about the moment when he touched the creature's face. The ice wolf hadn't just allowed the contact, it had leaned into it, seeking comfort like a hurt animal. "I think it wants what every intelligent being wants," he said. "Understanding, companionship, someone who won't hurt it." "But how can we provide that?" Veltar asked. "Our species are completely different. We can't even breathe the same air. Maybe we can find a way." The power indicator on their control panel flickered red, then died. Their heat generators shut down with a mechanical sigh. The temperature inside the shelter immediately began to drop. "That's it," Dong said quietly. "We're out of power." Outside, the ice wolf seemed to sense the change. It raised its head and let out a questioning howl. "It knows we're in trouble," Hana said, pulling her jacket tighter. "Of course it does," Tay said, standing up despite his injured hands. "It's intelligent. It can probably hear that our equipment stopped working." "So what do we do now?" Korth asked. Tay looked around at his teammates. In a few hours, they would all be dead from the cold. Unless something changed, this would be where their story ended. "I'm going back outside," he said. "Tay, no." Hana grabbed his arm. "You barely survived the first time. Your hands are already damaged. If I don't try, we all die anyway." He started putting his environmental suit back on. The others watched him with expressions ranging from admiration to horror. "This is madness," Veltar said. "Even if the creature doesn't kill you, The cold will. Maybe, Tay admitted. But maybe the ice wolf can help us. We won't know unless I ask. How do you ask a creature that doesn't speak your language for help? Nephirim asked. The same way you ask any intelligent being for help, Tay said, checking his suit seals. You show them that you need it. The cold was even worse this time. Tay's suit had less power, and his hands were already damaged from his first trip outside. But he forced himself to walk toward the ice wolf, step by painful step. The creature watched him approach, then stood up when it realized he was coming, closer. Its blue eyes seemed to glow brighter in the darkness. We're dying, Tay said simply. Our heat stopped working. We need help. The ice wolf tilted its head and made a questioning sound. I know you don't understand the words, Tay continued, but maybe you can understand this. He sat down on the frozen ground and wrapped his arms around himself, shivering dramatically. Then he pointed back at the shelter and made the same gesture. Cold, he said. We're all cold. Too cold. The ice wolf seemed to understand. It looked at the dark shelter, then back at Tay. Its crystalline fur began to glow with a soft inner light. Can you help us? Tay asked. The creature moved closer, and Tay could feel warmth radiating from its body. Not the burning cold he had felt before, but actual warmth. The ice wolf was somehow controlling its body temperature. You can generate heat, Tay said in amazement. That's how you survive in this cold. The ice wolf lowered its massive head until it was level with Tay's face. Its breath was warm now instead of freezing. The creature was deliberately changing its biology to make itself less dangerous to him. Thank you, Tay whispered. Without thinking about the risk, he reached out and wrapped his arms around the creature's neck. The ice wolf was so large that his arms barely reached around it, but the gesture was clear. The creature went very still, for a moment, as if it couldn't believe what was happening. Then slowly it leaned into the embrace. It's okay, Tay said softly, the same words his grandmother used to say when he was scared as a child. Everything's going to be okay. The ice wolf made a sound that was part howl and part sigh. All the loneliness and pain it had been carrying seemed to flow out of it in that single breath. They stayed like that for several minutes, human and ice wolf holding each other while the aurora danced overhead. Tay could feel the creature's heart beating slow and strong. Its fur was warm now, like sunlight on a summer day. We need to help my friends, Tay said eventually. They're still cold. The ice wolf pulled back and looked at him with those intelligent, blue eyes. Then it nodded, a gesture so human-like that Tay almost laughed. Together, they walked to the shelter. The ice wolf positioned itself against the building's wall and began generating heat. The metal wall started to warm up almost immediately. Inside, Tay could hear his teammates exclaiming in surprise as their shelter began to heat up. Tay, Hana's voice came through his radio. What's happening out there? We made a friend, he said, sitting down next to the ice wolf and leaning against its warm flank. A very big, very warm friend. The creature wrapped one of its massive arms around him, careful not to hurt him with its claws. For the first time since arriving on Kithra, Tay felt completely safe. Tell me about your family, he said to the ice wolf, knowing it couldn't understand but hoping it would appreciate the gentle tone. Tell me about the caves under the ice. Tell me about your home. The ice wolf began to make soft, rumbling sounds, almost like purring. If Tay closed his eyes, he could almost imagine it was telling him stories about life beneath the frozen surface of Kithra. Above them, the aurora painted the sky in brilliant colors, and for the first time in days, the ice wolf's howls carried no anger or pain, only contentment. Tay woke up to the sound of engines overhead. The rescue ships had finally arrived 3 days later than scheduled. He was still leaning against the ice wolf, who had kept him warm through the long night. The creature's blue eyes were alert, watching the ships descend through Kithara's thin atmosphere. They're here. Hana's voice came through his radio. She sounded amazed that they were all still alive. I know, Tay said softly, not wanting to disturb the ice wolf. But I don't think we need rescuing anymore. The ships landed a safe distance away, and Tay could see armed security teams emerging. They were prepared for a recovery mission from a creature attack site. What they found instead would change their understanding of ice wolves forever. Rescue Team Alpha to Research Station Cathera. A voice crackled through the radio. We see survivors. Are you under attack? Negative, Tay replied. We are safe. Repeat, we are safe. But approach slowly. We have made contact with the local wildlife. Contact? The rescue team leader sounded confused. Sir, our records show that ice wolves are extremely dangerous. Please move away from the creature. That won't be necessary, Tay said, gently patting the ice wolf's flank. This one is friendly. The ice wolf rumbled softly and shifted its position so Tay could stand up. As he got to his feet, something amazing happened. Other shapes began emerging from the ice caves around the research station. More ice wolves. Came up through hidden openings in the frozen ground, their crystalline fur catching the morning light. Some were smaller than Tay's companion, probably younger members of the pack. Others were even larger, their ancient eyes holding the wisdom of centuries. How many are there? Dong whispered through the radio. Tay counted as they kept appearing. 10, 15, 20 ice wolves, all watching the rescue ships with curious but calm expressions. It's a whole family, he said in wonder. A whole community. The largest of the new arrivals, an ice wolf with silver markings on its fur, approached Tay's companion. The two creatures touched noses in what was clearly a greeting between family members. The big one must be the pack leader, Hana observed, from inside the shelter. And our friend here was protecting them, Tay realized. All this time we thought it was attacking us randomly, but it was defending its family from what it thought was another threat. The rescue team was setting up defensive positions, clearly expecting trouble. Their leader was shouting orders about establishing a safe perimeter and preparing tranquilizer weapons. Rescue Team Alpha, stand down, Tay said firmly. Do not prepare weapons. These creatures are not hostile. Sir, we have orders to extract you from a dangerous situation. The situation is not dangerous anymore. Give me 5 minutes to prove it. Tay walked toward the rescue ships, and to everyone's amazement, the ice wolves followed him. Not aggressively, but with the calm curiosity of intelligent beings meeting new neighbors. The rescue team members backed away as the pack approached, but the ice wolves made no threatening moves. Instead, they sat down in a semicircle around Tay, like students gathering around a teacher. They're beautiful, one of the rescue team members whispered. They're terrifying, another replied. They're both, Tay said. Just like us. His original companion, the ice wolf he had first embraced, moved to stand beside him. The creature's presence was reassuring, like having a very large, very loyal dog at his side. How did you do this? The rescue team leader asked, lowering his weapon. How did you make contact with creatures that have been killing people for decades? I listened, Tay said simply. I paid attention to what they were trying to tell us instead of assuming they were mindless killers. And what were they trying to tell you? Tay looked around at the pack of ice wolves, their blue eyes reflecting intelligence and patience. That they were here first. That this is their home. That they've been hurt before by people who came to their planet with machines and weapons, and that they were tired of being afraid. The pack leader, the silver-marked ice wolf, approached the rescue team leader. The human froze as the massive creature sniffed at him curiously. Don't move, Tay advised. Let it get your scent. Show it you're not a threat. The ice wolf completed its inspection and made a soft rumbling sound that was clearly approval. It had accepted the new humans as part of Tai's extended pack. Incredible, the rescue team leader breathed. Command is never going to believe this. Over the next few hours, more ships arrived as word spread through the galaxy about the unprecedented peaceful contact with ice wolves. Scientists, diplomats, and reporters came to see the miracle for themselves. Tai's teammates finally emerged from their shelter, moving slowly and carefully around the ice wolves. The creatures examined each human with patient curiosity, learning their scents and voices. They're trying to understand us the same way we're trying to understand them, Hana observed. It's a two-way communication effort, Dong agreed. The younger, ice wolves were particularly interested in the humans' technology. They sniffed at tablets and scanners with obvious intelligence, trying to figure out what these strange devices were for. "We'll need to modify all our equipment," Veltar said. "Make sure the scanning frequencies don't disturb their underground habitats." "More than that," Tay said. "We'll need to include them in our research. They know more about this planet than we could learn in 100 years of studying it alone." As the day went on, it became clear that this was more than just a peaceful meeting. It was the beginning of a new kind of relationship between humans and ice wolves. The creatures were willing to share their knowledge of Cathara in exchange for respectful coexistence. "They want to show us something," Tay said as his ice wolf companion nudged him toward one of the cave entrances. The pack led the humans down into their underground world, revealing cities of ice and crystal that had existed for thousands of years. The ice wolves had built a civilization beneath the frozen surface, complete with libraries of carved ice that recorded their history and knowledge. "This changes everything we thought we knew about this planet," the lead scientist said, examining the ice carvings with wonder. "This changes everything we thought we knew about intelligence in the universe," Tay replied. That evening, as the aurora painted the sky in brilliant colors, Tay sat with his ice wolf friend on a hill overlooking the research station. The creature had saved his life, and he had saved its heart. Together, they had built a bridge between two species that should have been enemies. "Thank you," Tay said, scratching behind the creature's ears the way he used to pet his grandmother's dog. "Thank you for trusting me." The ice wolf rumbled contentedly and nuzzled his shoulder. Around them, the rest of the pack was settling down for the night, their crystalline fur glowing softly in the darkness. The howling that had once filled the nights of Cathara with fear and loneliness was gone. In its place were the gentle sounds of a community at peace, welcoming new friends into their ancient home. And in the years that followed, when other species asked humans how they had accomplished the impossible task of making friends with the legendary ice wolves of Cathara, the answer was always the same. Sometimes the most advanced technology in the universe is knowing when to offer a hug to someone who needs it. Even if that someone has claws that could tear you apart and breath that could freeze you solid. Especially then.